mad, for to see them so mad. The going they love the men, but he's so very mad, for to see them so glad. So we led them all together, great boys, we led them all together. And there was a mad man and he had a mad wife. They lived in London town. They may have children 1, 2, 3, and mad they were each one, great boys, mad they were each one. Well, the words for that are in the Oxford Dictionary of Nursery Rhymes, and then John wrote the tune for that, and yeah, it's just a silly little story. We've got a couple of songs out of those nursery rhyme books. They're nice.
So Faye, you've got a new album, Looking Glass, and you've collected the songs from old printed texts, not from oral traditions. Why did you choose to do that?
Well, I've gone back for some of the really interesting books that I've found. It just sort of happened that a lot of the songs that I was interested in singing at the moment have come from some more obscure collections. I don't know, maybe I reached a period in my life where I'd learned loads of songs from recordings and then wanted to try something a bit more original, really, I suppose. And I'd come into contact with the Huddleston collection at the Sheffield University, and the Forest School Camp songbook through John and camping there with them. And so that sort of formed the background of that.
So did you know some of them already and then went back to research them in printed form?
Not really. Ken Poen I knew the plot of, and I didn't know any versions, so I deliberately went to the Oxford Book of Ballads to find a text for that. But most of them were just songs that I learned because we'd found them and they were good to sing. Or for the Ralph Vaughan Williams material, I learned that especially for the 50th centenary celebration down at Sharp House, and thought they're cracking songs. And we chopped them around a bit, especially Banks of the Nile, to sort of make it make sense. So I'm quite into doing that, finding a text, but then I'm not particularly keen to keep it necessarily preserved in that state, and so we changed the plot of that a bit to make a bit more sense to me. And same with the Ken Poen one, that's all very much in Scots dialect, and I'm not Scottish, so turned that into an English song and cut a good third of the verses, I think, even though it's still 7 minutes long. But, yeah.
So do you have a preferred way of learning songs?
No, just sing it over and over and over again, and it'll settle down eventually, yeah. Some of it's conscious, changing words and lines, but most of it just happens. If you sing it enough times, it becomes right, I think.
Now, you were previously in The Witches of Ellswick. So how does it compare performing solo to performing with 3 other singers?
Whoa, totally different. Performing with instruments, I've never done that before. So living with Jon, I'd come into that a little bit, but then working with Sam and Rob, they're just so intuitive. It's a bit like singing with singers. They really, they're just so supportive. I was worried about talking and things because the Witches were well into their banter, and it's quite good if you say something ridiculous, you've got 3 other people to make a joke out of it, and it's fine. But with Sam and Rob, I've really enjoyed it as well, and I think it's been great. I think it's lovely.
So how do you think your singing style has developed?
Just by singing. I think, I don't know, a bit of an academic hat on now, but I think you learn to sing in the same way you learn to talk, and you just absorb the influences that are around you. You might pick some up specially, you might, if you listen to loads of American telly, the kids will start acting American, and I've just learnt to sing from the people I've been surrounded with and the people I thought were good.
And you grew up in Yorkshire with the Back of Pipes Folk Club. Was that a big early influence on you?
Very much so, yeah. The people are very family-like to me. Socially, it's massively big and influential, and a big support system. And musically, it's just tremendous. And yeah, we still go up there whenever we can, especially at Christmas. They do a great Christmas carols thing up there. So yeah, a brilliant place. And they're really the people that taught me that what you do when you're singing is just go, belt out, hell for leather, loud as you can, find a nice note and sing it out. And yeah, I think that's a good approach to singing.
With your band, you got quite an unusual combination of instruments. How did that come about?
Well, I'm not the biggest guitar fan in the world, I suppose, so I didn't want to do that standard girl singer with guitarist kind of combo. And And I'm just an old school folkie really, and my influences are things like the Peter Bellamy albums where he's just got a fiddle or his own concertina with him, and to me that's all you need really. I don't know. Yeah, and so then Sam Sweeney's moved up to Sheffield and he's just amazing. I think he's just the best musician and person in the world at the moment. I think he's a corker. And so he plays a nickel harper. It's not an instrument. I didn't go, right, I need a nickel harper. Who plays the nickel harper? Let's have Sam. He was up rehearsing and said, oh, let's bring it out. And he started playing it. And I think it's just brilliant and I love singing with it. And that's great. And the album is recorded with Sam and Jon. But obviously with kids and things gigging, that's not going to work so well. So we've got Rob Harbour in, he's brilliant, concertina, just again that intuitive thing, just you know they're going to be there. And you in a rehearsal one day we sang something and they said, oh, should we try that semitone higher? And they just did it note for note, but in E flat or whatever it was rather than D, and it was just ridiculous, yeah. And to be supported by such calibre is amazing.
How do you decide on what instrumentation you want in a particular song? Is it a collaborative effort?
We don't sit down and arrange something and decide it and go for it. I'll sing the song, they'll hear what it's like. We sort of just play around it, and if I really like the two fiddles thing and the pitch with that, but then sometimes it's interesting to have a viola in, or a viola and the concertina work really nicely together, so we'll do that a bit sometimes. It very much just depends on what song we're looking at and the kind of treatment you want for that. There's no hard and fast rules with it, just what I like to sort of trust what the instrumentalists want to do, because they're going to give their best performance. They're really brilliant musicians. There's no point me telling them something that is just going to sound a bit daft. No, I like to let them choose really.
So do you play anything?
Well, I learned the fiddle. I wouldn't say I play it, but I learned it. I'm getting better. I practice quite a bit. And I recently bought a symphony, which is really interesting. It's a bit like a hurdy-gurdy, but yeah, it doesn't do the zugga bit of it, but it just... So that's quite nice, so I'm practising that. And I don't know, I've never played anything out of the house yet, but
I was going to say, might we see any of those on stage?
We'll see how it goes. If it gets good enough to put on stage, I'll bring it out, yeah.